Welcome to the award-winning Champions Mojo, hosted by two world record-holding athletes and health, life, and leadership coaches. And now, just the takeaways from your hosts, Kelly Pallas and Maria Parker.
So Maria, oh my gosh, that was so fantastic.
Yeah.
Christen,
I knew it was going to be a great show.
Yeah. Christen Shefchunas, a confidence coach, an author of her upcoming book. Really, really excited for this book, which is coming out in August. 30 Days to Confident, a 30-day confidence challenge for female athletes. So if you didn't listen to the whole thing, really, really recommend it. But our takeaways, we're going to do two each. And Maria, what was your first takeaway?
Well, I mentioned it in the interview, but what I love about her is her authenticity. And that's really what it's kind of her one of her major themes is like, you have to be authentic. You have to identify, your fears. It's the part of, I'm afraid, that's okay. It's the I'm afraid, admitting what you're afraid of, identifying what it is that you stand to lose, being authentic. She's very, she talks about her failures and, it's not all rah, rah, rah. It's like, first we have to figure out where we are, who we really are, what we're really afraid of. So I thought, authenticity is I like authenticity anyway, but it's a beautiful takeaway.
Yeah, that she makes the people she works with make a list of what are you really afraid of? If these things happen, these are the 10 things.
Right. And she says, I've seen it all.
Yeah. And then being authentic about who you are that deals with these things.
Right. Right. So, that's the other side of it, is that, what are your good, what are the truths that are good, not so, and sometimes we have to dig harder for those because the things we're afraid of are bigger. They seem bigger in our consciousness, but then, after people identify their truths, then she says, okay, now, is it true that you work hard? Is it, or they have to come up with them, I'm sure. Is it true that, that you're, good, that, whatever their truths are. So yeah, that's the other side of it. I like it.
Yeah. And that leads into my first one very nicely, where this is kind of the gold nugget thing, which she talks about, again, listening to the whole thing, but celebrating. And so when you're in this pressure filled situation or a lacking confidence, you're scared, what do you do well? If you're in the last length of a 200-meter long course butterfly, you say to yourself, I've done this before a million times in practice. I'm strong. I finish hard. I'm tough. Right. So those are the things that are the gold nuggets. Those are the things that we need to celebrate. What do you do well? And that was my first takeaway, was the flip side of the fear is this focus on, instead of focusing on the what ifs, it's focusing on what have you done well that really could give you confidence. And let's think about those. Let's line those up. Let's make those anchors. Let's make those your gold nuggets. Let's make that list as well.
Yeah. And that's so good and hard. She says this is hard, partly because as women, we're taught not to stand up and talk about what we're good at, or, it's quiet down, be in the, simmer down. You're not that great. So, it's to have keep those gold nuggets. She has a business selling bracelets with the nuggets on it. And it's just a physical reminder of like, what am I doing right? So you're right. The first part, you got to have that second part of the first, or the authenticity does no good. That's wonderful. So my second takeaway was towards the end of the interview, she talked about giving herself grace. And I think surely we've talked about this before, but we can be so hard on ourselves in our mind, and, we're going to make progress, and then we're going to have bad days. And, and if we can just give ourselves grace, to know that sometimes things aren't going to go that well. She told the story of a swimmer who would traditionally go down this kind of bad rabbit hole of negative thoughts. And what the swimmer was finding was that she would still go into the rabbit hole, but just not quite as deep. So she was recognizing that, she was giving herself grace. I'm going down this rabbit hole, but I'm going to stop right here and turn around. And I think being able to forgive yourself and give yourself grace for when you don't have the best day. What about your second?
Yeah. My second and final takeaway was the idea of why women might not be as confident as men. It's our brains. And, I just not that long ago, I listened to an audiobook that I loved on the female brain. It's called The Female Brain, and how our brains are different than men's. That we have, I don't know the number. We didn't write it down, but it was either 1,200 or 12,000. I'm sure it's 12,000 thoughts per hour or something. And men have
per minute,
per minute. But men have a significantly reduced number of thoughts. So of what women have, that's just the brain, the male brain and the female brain. And so of course we're doing the scary scenarios, the worse scenarios. So that makes so much sense. And I think just knowing that helps the male listeners dealing with women and helps us women know, okay, the reason that I'm feeling like this is because my brain is producing all these thoughts. So I love that.
I do too. I that's a lot of rabbit holes, 12.
Yeah, it's a lot of rabbit holes.
However many it is. And just acknowledging that is the way your brain works and that our brains work, is giving yourself some grace. Like, oh yeah, okay, there's a lot going on here. And, that's the way I'm made. And, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Great stuff. Great stuff. Can't wait for her book to come out. And was just love this, again, this adventure, this journey when we get to talk to great champions like Christen.
It is so great.
Love you, Maria.
I love you too, Kelly.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Champions Mojo podcast with host Kelly Pallas and Maria Parker. Champions Mojo is produced by Cabra Media, and a new episode debuts every Tuesday. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Follow Champions Mojo on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook @Champions Mojo.